what causes those shortfalls for months, and more importantly, what causes the fire on your ass for however many days you're like, you know what, I need to fucking do this. Because to me, how we proceed as a human society is incredibly dependent on how we are able to motivate ourselves to self-sacrifice in the moment to pursue those greater returns in the long run. So why the shortfalls?
The grind.
What's the grind? Well, real quick, why the shortfalls, and then why the sudden pursuit of greater good?
Yep.
So go ahead. What's the grind?
The shortfall is the grind. The job. I might have to put in extra hours this week. I might have to deal with a much more strenuous situation than I did last week. Now I literally don't have the energy or the capacity to do the run or to do the lifting or to do whatever it is that I was going to do that week. You see right behind you, there's a stationary bicycle.
Yes.
I'll spend 3 hours a week on it, just riding away, right? But if I'm too fucking tired at the end of the day because for whatever reason, you know, my job got to me, my dog shit on the floor, my kids are really upset this week just for no reason at all, right?
Sure.
That happens. Same thing I imagine with you. It might be in a different place. It might be because Milo, your dog, is just going bananas. And it's just,
yeah.
It's, right.
German Shepherds, they're wild.
It's crazy. Don't know why you got one. But yeah, anyway. So that's what, to me at least, if I try to analyze it over the last 5-6 years, that's what gets me in the funk where I'm not doing what I should be doing.
Because I will say...
Sure.
And, you know, that's a totally valid excuse for you. I will say there are times where I have plenty of time, and that's not the thing that gets me stuck in a place where I do nothing.
So let me go farther back.
I am so upset with myself for doing that nothing. Okay, go ahead.
Let me go farther back.
Expand on
this. When I didn't have kids, when I didn't have a dog.
Here we go.
When I got out of the army and I literally had no excuse to do anything else.
That's right.
It's just a mental block.
That's more important, I think. Because the grind matters. The grind does matter. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
It's like, listen, you have kids. You have a full-time job. You got to provide. You got to maintain a household.
You have a dog that's literally on crack.
You have to maintain a household. You have more responsibilities than me. Let's just get that out of the way right now. I do have a dog that's on crack cocaine. And, we're weaning him off of it, but God bless him.
But if I go back, it's just the mental block.
What's the mental block? Let's flesh that out. What's the mental block?
In this moment, what is the value and purpose of me doing X?
Right.
In this case, let's just use for an example, me running.
Yes.
Right. What is the value of me getting off?
Because it is generally speaking a displeasurable thing to 100%. Go for a 6-mile run. 100%. It is a struggle
until
you're done with it.
You take a nice, hot, then cold shower.
Sure.
You got a clean ass
until you are.
Hold on.
Post struggle.
Okay. Hold on.
A clean ass.
Clean Ranger panties. The silkies.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get into
they cup your balls very nicely.
Clean bed.
Yep.
It smells like Tide or Febreze or whatever your flavor is. And you sleep like you've never slept before. And you wake up and you're like, wow, do I feel fucking good.
So you're saying post-struggle.
Post-struggle.
What gets you through current struggle?
You mean like if I'm actively running right now?
You are not even a mile into your 8-mile.
I'm good at that point.
You haven't run.
Nope, I'm good at that point because I've already gotten my ass. That's not the hard part.
That's bizarre to me.
Nope. The hard part is getting my ass off the couch and saying, hold on.
And deciding to do it.
Because, you remember, if I do this, number one, I got to spend an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and a half running.
It's a while, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I got to put in the time.
Yeah, sure.
I got to go change. I got to tell my wife where I'm going.
I got to not shit myself.
You got to do all these things just to get on the road before you even take the first step. So to me, the block is not the run. It's not taking the first step. It's not a mile in.
It's getting
once
up to
I'm
the
a mile away from my house, I'm in it. I'm fucked anyway. I might as well do it. That's the mentality.
Okay.
The block is getting to the door.
Because I'm going to zero in on this.
Sure.
How do you get to the door? Why do you get to the door? What makes you decide to get to the door? For me, I will say, and again, I have to emphasize this, there's a million ways I feel about myself, I feel about the world, I feel about life in general. I have very strong convictions about all of these things. But the moment it comes to rubber meets the road, is where I'll drop off a lot of the time. And, like, again, the worst part is, like, I would rather be a piece of shit who's okay with being a piece of shit. But I'm a piece of shit who's not okay with being a piece of shit. Like, that is objectively worse.
Yeah.
Because I know the things I expect of myself, I expect of others, I expect of society. And then I myself cannot meet those standards. Actively, every single day. Not every single day, but a lot of the time. And it's
more
like,
than you would like to admit.
Way more than I'd like to admit. And how do you reconcile these facts? I understand what I want to expect of myself and others, and then there's the reality of what I am. And I'm going to quote a terrible band from when we were young and far too deep in the Christian culture on 104.9 K-Love.
Oh, get out of here.
In Rochester. No. Reliant K. No, let's talk about it, right?
No.
It's super cheesy. It's super cheesy. It's Reliant K, and it is who I am hates who I've been. And it's apt. That's an apt quote, though. And it's a song I still kind of listen to, I'm not going to lie. Because there's a good kernel of truth in that. Because there is who you are internally, and there is who you are externally in the world.
Yep. So first I thought you were going to reference a different band.
No.
A different
okay
person.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say...
Guessing Crowns?
Hot Topic is not punk rock.
You can't reference MC Lars.
MC Lars.
There's 12 people that know MC Lars.
That's okay.
No, I'm talking about Reliant K. Who I am hates who I've been.
So,
because that's apt. Like, as much as I'm not even part of that scene anymore, that's an apt description, regardless of whether or not you're religious. That's an apt description of the self.
So let's expand upon that specific title. Who I am. What was it? Who I am hates who I've been.
I am, because you know who you are.
Yeah.
Is not happy with who you
actually
act yourself out to be. And that's like, bro, that's like 90% of my day to day.
So for me,
I know the expectations I have for myself, and I know what I am.
You said, "How do I get off the couch?" And I'm gonna keep using the running.
Go ahead.
Kind of
I'm
image,
fine with that.
if you
Sure,
will, right?
Sure.
I'm sitting on the couch, and here's what it is. Right, Monday, I just got back from work. I gotta take care. I gotta make dinner. I gotta do this. I gotta do that.
I got kids.
Tuesday, you do the same thing. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
You got a full day.
I gotta work. I got somebody's car broke down. I gotta change the oil. I gotta whatever it is. Right, things come up. Where it catches me is Saturday. Saturday afternoon.
A free day.
It's 2:00 in the afternoon.
What am I going to do?
Not what am I going to... What have I done all day?
Sure.
And for me, I start hitting this point of... It's going to sound bad, but self-hatred. I literally look at myself and I go, you're a piece of shit. You have no excuse. I gave you Monday through Friday. I gave you those days. You had an excuse.
Sure. You didn't feel guilty then, but you're sure going to feel guilty now.
Because you ain't doing nothing. Alex took the girl. This is my wife. Alex took your kids, your girls, and they're out doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a certain amount of self-hatred that I hit.
right.
That's what gets me off the couch.
There's a threshold.
There's a threshold. And then what happens is I do the first run, and it hurts.
Oh.
My knees hurt. My hips hurt.
Because it's been a minute.
I didn't drink enough water. In the middle of the night, I get a leg cramp that literally wakes me out of bed, and I can't move my leg because I didn't hydrate enough. But then I do the second run, and I feel better. I feel a little more stretched out, a little more limber. I do the third one, and then the fourth one, and then I get into a nice little groove.
Where do you stop? And where does the lull set back in?
The grind, right? You get to a point where your dog shit on the floor again.
Sure.
Your kids are screaming. Somebody steps in
now,
but
I get that.
It's circular, right? And the difficult thing is breaking that cycle. And I think that's what it is for most people.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You have an idea of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have an expectation of yourself. You have an expectation of your own life.
Sometimes.
Is it? Don't fuck with me. You are constantly aware of how, like, everybody has an ideal self. And then they have the actual self. Why do you not maximize every single day? And it's not like, for me, like, okay, so when I talk about maximizing your day, it's not nose of the grind. You should be working all the time. Like, for me, a maximized day is making time to longboard for 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. I love doing that. I don't get out there and do that enough. You know, there's a lot of work that comes along with that, but for me, it's also like spending time with Stacy, spending time with family, making sure I talk to dad and mom, making sure, like, there are plenty of expectations where, like, for me, a fulfilled life isn't just hard work. It's just, like, trying to be as active as possible and, like, engaging as much as I can with the life that I have. And then there's the actual level of engagement that I do. Why is there that disparity? And it's not just because, like, oh, I'm tired. That's why I clarified it's not just about hard work and nose of the grind. For me, it's about, like, just being more appreciative. Like, yes, hard work is included in the ideal self, but also it's like, man, I wish I was closer to dad. Man, I wish I was closer to mom. Man, I wish I was closer to my brothers. Man, I wish I did more with my friends and my family. Man, I wish I, like, taught myself the piano. Like, that would be an incredible... But then there's like the ideal self, there's the actual self, and there's an entire ocean in between. And I'm sure that a lot of people feel that way. I'm sure you feel that way. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Minus the grind.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that's hard to, like, take it in that context. There has to be times where, like, there's the ideal self, there's the actual self, and the grind isn't there. Why is there that disparity?
To me, it's because you don't have a good enough support structure.
From the self or from outside?
From both.
Okay.
First, from the outside. And this is something that I think 99% of people struggle with. And that is
100%.
Building their tribe and having people in their lives that will hold them accountable, that will have those hard conversations with them.
Why can't you hold yourself accountable?
You can, but to start, you need someone, I think.
Why?
I mean, why the fuck haven't you been doing it then?
I'm not saying this in a sense of, like, I'm the pinnacle of this.
Well,
I'm also asking myself
sure,
that question.
But I'm going to ask. Why, if it's
fair.
that simple, then why haven't you done it?
No,
because
I don't
not
think
that easy.
It's not
you
that
need
easy.
a support structure. There is so few people on this planet.
Why is the passion
just
lacking?
Sit there.
Why is the passion lacking? And is there a way to cultivate that passion? Because
There
for
is.
me,
I think there is. Yes.
For me, I don't think a lot of people have a problem with understanding what they should be doing. I think a lot of people have a problem maximizing their lives towards what they should be doing. And again, like, I have to emphasize, it's not just, oh, you should be working all the time. Oh, you should be depriving yourself of pleasure. No, like, for me, maximizing my life is maximizing my pleasure and maximizing my work and maximizing my friendships and maximizing my, like, so you know what I mean? It's not balance. Just hard work. Yeah, it's like realizing that there are plenty of things you can have pleasure in life with, and that they are long-term and they are short-term, and, like, why is there such a gulf of difference between who we are and the things that we want to be? For me, I think religion plays a factor. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think what you're missing, and this is a conversation actually Cyril and I had, who I did the last podcast with.
Sure.
Before we turned on the microphones, of course, we talked about church, we talked about community. And that when you take away religion, what you've taken away for a lot of people is community, and that's where we fail.
I would agree with that.
When you take away that ability to talk to other people candidly about things like spirituality, like challenging each other to do X, Y, and Z. Like, I mean, you remember, we would go to church and people would be like, how many people did you talk to about the Lord this week?
Oh, God.
How many people come up to you, Chad, and say, have you done enough for yourself this week? How many people right now, in the last year, say that to you? But when you go to church, they do it every fucking week.
0. Yeah, sure.
So to me,
turn to your neighbor and shake their hand and say hello.
To me, it comes down to community. What type of community have you built for yourself? Are the people in your community helping you to achieve whatever the maximized version of yourself is?
You're saying the success of religion is because of the success of community.
No. What I'm saying is the success of people, of individuals achieving whatever their objective is, right? If you want to be the fittest person on earth, do you do it by yourself or do you go to a gym?
Sure.
If you want to be the best soldier on the planet, you're not out in the woods by yourself doing it. You're never going to be the best version of who you are when you do it by yourself. There's so few people on this planet, forget the planet, of all time, that could be the best version of themselves without anybody else. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
we as humans can't do that.
I think that number's probably 0. Yeah.
It might be. I don't know. But my point is that if you're not actively building your tribe or your community, if you're not helping to push your counterparts the same way that you expect them to push you, then you're not going to get what you're looking for. And I think that when you build that community, when you start having those conversations, when you see what it's like to push each other to certain envelopes, that's when you develop or cultivate that passion for something. How many guys, and this is more specific to me, left the U.S. Army and still try to work out on a regular basis? Way more than any other group of people that got out of, let's say, college. Or even with college, right? How many football players? Because you cultivated that habit, that personality about you from being a part of that community for so long. To me, that's where it comes from. So the most important thing is if you want to be a writer, you should be fucking hanging out with writers all the time. If you want to be X, you need to be hanging out with that group of people who want to also do X in a lot of ways. Sometimes you got to start building that community yourself. Sometimes you have to be the one that reaches out to somebody and says, hey, I know you like talking about X, or I know you like longboarding. Would you mind longboarding with me once a month? Right? And most of the time, people are going to be like, yeah, I'll do it once or twice. And you're going to have to ask somebody else. And then you're going to have to ask somebody else because they're going to cop out on you. But eventually you're going to find somebody who's willing to do it with you more often. And that type of persistence becomes infectious. To me, at least. Right?
I think you're right.
In a lot of ways, I'm hoping to do that with this podcast right now.
Sure.
I'm hoping to cultivate a group of people who want to continue to create similar types of content to me. And that way we can, talk to each other. We can promote things. We can share what we've learned. We can continue to grow and push the envelope of what is possible because I'm not sitting in the basement monologuing completely by myself. Right? Not to say that wouldn't work, but then you have to...
Sure.
No.
It works better with people.
I disagree. Oh. There's people who are phenomenal monologuists, but when they're done, they go look for criticism.
I would say the average person.
They go look for feedback.
Oh, sure.
They're looking for
it's still a community.
That input. Right. There's still a community there.
Sure.
To me, I feel like that's where a lot of that comes from. And that's where the disconnect from religion to whatever this ends up becoming without religion still needs a community.
So religion's a shorthand for community.
In a lot of ways.
Okay, I would agree with that, but I would also say that religion is a shorthand for a greater purpose.
And that might be the case.
Because that's powerful.
But it is.
Don't dismiss the power of a common greater purpose. But I get what you're saying.
But that greater purpose...
But to me...
You're talking about this universal greater purpose. And I didn't mean to roll my eyes when I said that, but going to heaven and being, doing all the things in religion.
Sure.
When I talk about being a tribe, you can develop that greater purpose. With whatever it is that you're all doing.
But the greater purpose is still there. To me, you would never have had a nation state without a common religion. Because it is a shorthand for everybody to subscribe to a greater purpose and community. Period. We don't move from the tribes in Africa and Europe in wherever the fuck. We don't move from those very tight-knit groups to these big socialized communities with city-states without that shorthand, greater common purpose and community. And religion is the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It is this unalterable truth. I'm not saying it's true.
Yeah.
That we can all subscribe to.
I also think that there's a possibility.
How do we do that without religion?
I think the answer to that in my head, right? There's only two answers. Mm-hmm. You either become
a cult,
one world order.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Mark of the Beast. 666.
Calling Alex Jones.
Or what I think is going to happen is that since we've gotten to a point where with industry you can create so much with so little, right? I think that there's a possibility that we as humans revert back to tribes. And when I say tribes, I mean smaller groups of people who are able to do things, as opposed to these giant nation states that we all have to identify with. If that makes sense?
Yes, but do you get to the moon without a nation state?
Not then, but what about now? I mean, Elon Musk is one dude who has a couple of companies. He's trying to go to Mars. Literally?
Yeah, but everybody's...
Almost by himself.
But no.
He's got help from NASA, sure.
He's got help from all the engineers that work.
Yeah, how many... Hold on. How many people?
Well, it's a lot.
Yeah, how many?
I would guess tens of thousands.
Okay. How about in 1960 or 1950 when we started shooting shit up to the moon collectively?
It's about the same. Tens of thousands, I would imagine.
I feel like maybe it's more then than it is
more.
now.
You're probably right.
Because we've already developed the science for it. We're just expanding upon it. And as time goes on, right, there's less and less to expand upon. And because you have such specifically educated and trained people, you don't need as many to get the same end result. Right. And that's also, in some ways, if you keep going with that, the argument for some people for universal basic income. I mean, at some point,
because
I'm not going to need people to create shit.
Well, if I could get rid of the grind for you, or if I can lessen the grind to 20 hours a week, you are more able to maximize
my potential as a human being.
Right. Instead of your business's potential.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's not a fully fleshed out thought from me specifically, but
I don't think work should go away.
That's where I see it.
I agree with you. I don't think work should go away, but if we could lessen the amount that people have to dedicate to work, then you could do a better job of maximizing human potential.
If I worked 4 hours a day instead of 8 or 10,
yeah, let's say you work 20 hours a week, 5 days a week, 4 hours a day.
I could do a whole lot with that.
Would you?
I would.
Okay.
I would.
All right, we got him, boys. We got him. Roll them in.
I only say that because even now, right, I work, 50 hours a week. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to try and make it sound like I work 80 hours a week.
Okay, but maintaining a house and a family is another, 30 hours a week at a minimum, probably?
Absolutely. But I also think there's a balance for a lot of people. There's going to be like that cutover, if you will. So if I went from that to 4 hours a day for 5 days a week, I still get up at 8 in the morning. Sure. I can't say that if I had no work, I would get up at 8 in the morning every day, or 7, or actually now I get up at 6. But either way, I can't tell you that I would get up at 6 every morning if I didn't have a job. No fucking way. I would probably turn into a night owl. But if I have 4 hours of work a day, I come home at 12:30. I can go for a run. Maybe I can do some writing, set up my next podcast, things of that nature. Yeah, I think I would be much more productive. And I would life would be so much more self-fulfilling. Right? Because at the end of the day, I enjoy these conversations, and recording them and putting them up is just kind of like another step to it. But I would have more time to dedicate to this type of thought. I would have more time to dedicate to all the books that are behind me.
Do you think that applies to everyone? I wouldn't say everyone, because that's an unfair question.
Right.
Do you think that applies to most people?
I think most people have never had the opportunity to go this far anyway, so I don't know. Because most people don't think the way that you do necessarily. Most people aren't trying to grapple with the realities of purpose and self and meaning and
being alive.
They're trying to pay their fucking bills. Right? They're more worried about whether or not they'll be able to save enough for retirement. They're more worried about all these other things that they take precedence. Because my immediate survival, I need that in order to be able to think at a higher level. Right? That's what agriculture did for humans, for fuck's sake.
Sure.
After agriculture was, we don't have to run around and only spend all of our time hunting food.
Yeah.
We can work on other shit.
I wonder if
I can make a pot.
We're not spending 1,300 calories to get 1,400 calories.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
A day. 12 hours a day.
In a lot of ways, we're still like that. Right?
In a different way.
But it's with dollars instead of calories.
Way. Yeah, right. Exactly. Right? Wow, that's a pretty apt comparison, honestly.
I think that's where a lot of people are today, so...
We're at a very pivotal point in human society, for sure. And the next 20 to 30 years are going to be very definitive. Whether we not just, piss away the entire stability of the ecosystem of this planet and just crash ourselves into the ground, whether or not we are able to move ourselves towards, a more self-sustaining, less work required, more individuality, more free will. These are the conversations that are necessary.
And these are the conversations that I hope to continue to have with you. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming out here.
I got a lot more to say, so we got to do this again. But
having this conversation.
Absolutely.
I don't want to completely cut you off at this point, so
no,
if you have more.
Fine. No. I do have more, but I think we should revisit this.
That's fair.
I have more in a very different way, so we'll revisit
That's fair. That's fair.
But I do very much appreciate the conversation, because this is my bread and butter, bro. This is the shit. This is the shit that I've been obsessed with since, like, 13,
well, we're definitely going to do this again.
We're
probably going to do this again in a couple more weeks.
Sure.
I've got some other folks kind of lined up, but I have a feeling you and Cyril will probably be regulars on this for a little while.
I hope that that's the case. Yeah.
But yeah, so I look forward to the next conversation. I appreciate the time, and for anybody that actually listens to this whole thing, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't
and find God. Please find God.
Oh, Jesus. I said Jesus.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it as always. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace.